Welcome to episode 33 of the Unstoppable podcast with special guest Reg Lenney.
My name is Dan J. Gregory, and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life?
Greetings, Unstoppable Tribe. Welcome to episode 33 of the Unstoppable podcast. I've got an incredibly exciting episode for you today. Last week, we heard from award-winning digital marketer Michael Devlin, who shared what it takes to build an online brand and create a profitable e-commerce business on Amazon. Today, you have the amazing opportunity to learn from Reg Lenney. Reg Lenney is a world-renowned, multi-award-winning health and lifestyle coach who has a client list that looks like a list of Oscar nominees, including the likes of Halle Berry, Al Pacino, Hugh Jackman, Britney Spears, Gerard, Butler, amongst countless others. Reg supports some of the most powerful world leaders, from royal families to corporate executives and the Hollywood elite, while they prepare for roles in business, movies, TV, and in the boardroom, whilst also maintaining balance in their real life. Reg is incredibly passionate about helping people to develop extraordinary levels of physical and mental performance. And in today's episode, you will discover the 10 keys to ultimate health that Reg shares with all of his high-profile clients, so that you too can learn to go from great to extraordinary. Introducing Mr. Reg Lenney.
So welcome to Reg Lenney. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Reg. For the listeners, would you mind just giving a frame about what you currently do, what your business is all about, and what you're trying to achieve?
Hey, Dan. Great to be here. Thank you for the introduction and inviting me here.
My pleasure.
I love spending time with you. A lot of the talks that we've had together are very inspiring, so it's always great to connect with people like you as well. So, I mean, what my goal is to educate people, to help people to understand that they do have a choice and that there are better ways to get out of their rut and get away from the endless journey of failure and look at how to turn that into success in multiple areas of their life. So that's kind of where I get my passion. As you've seen on my website, my tagline is taking people from great to exceptional. And I like to do that in all areas of their life. So that's really where my passion is.
I love that. And one of my favorite books I read of all time was From Good to Great by Jim Collins, and you've taken that to the next level. So
yeah.
And if for any of the listeners, if you take a look at Reg's website, worked with some of the real A-list clients. But I'd like to, and it'd be great to touch on some of that work later on. But I'd like to take you on a bit of a journey from where it all started. Would you mind sharing how you got started in your current field? What inspired you to step into what you're doing now, and where did it all begin?
Well, it all began quite early in my life. I mean, I was born into a life of ailment and illness. My father was diagnosed with brain cancer shortly before I was born, and he survived that for 15 years. So for the first 15 years of my life, I was watching him in and out of the hospitals. He had 9 brain operations where they actually took the top of his head right off 9 times.
Gosh.
In between that, it was chemotherapy and drug radiation and all that sort of thing. And that was on the medical aspect side of it. My mother was more into the alternative, as my grandmother called it, the hokey pokey witchcraft stuff, which is where my mom was just into detoxing and cleansing the body, trying to figure out more natural or alternative ways of doing it. The stuff that people look at and think is crazy. Going for walks, trying to laugh more, cleaning the body, eating healthy, all those types of things. And I always found that it was very odd that when you look at natural health and healing, people think that's crazy. But yet taking drugs and radiation and cutting yourself open, that seems to be like the normal right thing to do. And that never really made any sense to me, although I could understand the benefits of it. Yes. So growing up, I was always a kid that asked why and how. When my father was doing the operations and the chemotherapy and all that, he basically lived his life either in bed or on his chair in front of the TV, I remember at some points he'd be on the floor on his hands and knees, hammering his head against the floor because his headaches were so bad.
Oh, my
He
goodness.
just wanted to die. And my mom would kind of work with him slowly and very lovingly to try to get him out of that. And she would do things like detoxing the body and herbal baths and just making sure that he's eating natural foods. She also was very much into reading books like Dr. Earnhardt's The Rational Fasting and how fasting actually helps to eliminate disease from the body. Again, all the hokey pokey witchcraft stuff. And, what I found odd as a young kid, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, is that when he was doing the hokey pokey witchcraft stuff, he was actually feeling better.
Wow.
And he would act normal, and he would, become more of a father, and he would be able to do some work. But then as soon as his mother got involved, and he was back to the doctors doing all the medication and stuff, again, he was back in bed and sick and not able to do anything. And I'm kind of sitting there as a kid going, well, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I didn't really understand it.
I can understand.
So that got me very, very interested in how the body works and, how people get sick in the first place and why is it that some people get sick and they go through whatever treatment, whether it's natural or medical, and they get better. And other people go through the exact same things and they don't get better. They end up dying or they stay sick for very long periods of time. And that got me quite interested. So when I was old enough, I did want to be a doctor, and I started down that road. And a number of years into medical training, I just realized that it just wasn't for me. I couldn't really grasp it. I love science, and I love the technology, and I love what's available and what we're able to do in this 21st century that we live in. But at the same time, I couldn't understand why we couldn't combine the two of them. There is magic in nature, and there is magic in the science and the revolutions that we've been able to accomplish. And I could never understand why there's this battle between the two. Why is there so much animosity between the medical and the natural? And why can't we bring the two of them together? So, a number of years into medical training, I just decided, well, this just isn't for me. I can't be in a place where if I ask a question, I get into trouble, or people mock me, like, why is it bad to, along with chemotherapy, why can't we get them walking down the beach and breathing salt air and detoxing and cleansing their body? Why is that funny?
Yes.
Why do people mock that and think that's crazy, to go up and to be natural or to laugh, or, instead of sitting in a dark medical room with false light, surrounded by sad, sick people, why wouldn't you want to get people outside into the sunshine to be happy? So after a number of years, I just decided this was enough for me, and I dropped out of all of it, and I went to India.
Wow.
So I spent 7 years in India training in Ayurvedic medicine.
Amazing.
And then got into Eastern Asia. I spent another 3.5 years doing traditional Chinese medicine. And that's where I kind of really got into the whole hands-on treatment. And understanding how the body actually works. And, everything from trigger point therapy to acupuncture to energy balancing, muscle balancing, body alignment, how the organs work, how we digest food, how stress affects the body mentally and physically, and all those types of things. So, I'm a why guy. I don't like to just, get a diagnosis and go, okay, you've got cancer, now let's focus on the cancer. I'm more as why did you get whatever you've got, or why can't you achieve what it is that you can't achieve?
Yes.
And figure out how to do it, rather than let's maintain low levels. I want to forget the low levels and let's maintain high levels.
Wow. So really quite a varied background in terms of getting started. So in terms of then setting up your own business, how did you go about then taking all that knowledge, that expertise and practical experience? How did you go about then taking that and creating a business from all of your knowledge?
Well, again, coming from somebody who's not an entrepreneur, I never really fit into the structure. And again, the structure never really made sense to me. So initially, I when I came back from India and Asia, I went back to Canada, into British Columbia, where, of course, nothing is recognized and you have to be certified and everything. So I became an RMT, which is a registered massage therapist. And that took just over 5 years to get that certification. And working in that, again, it was very, very structured and very controlled on what you can do and what you can say, very much like the medical system is. And you can only talk about certain things. So, like a medical industry, if you know that, garlic, for example, is very good for you and it's a natural product, you can't really talk about it. You can actually get into trouble by discussing it or offering it to your clients as an option. So again, I stepped away from the structure of what people are telling me I can do, and I more just stepped out of that, and I'm always looking to how I can help my clients better, and looking at all aspects. And this is kind of how I started developing my 10 keys to ultimate health and success, because I initially set up a clinic. It was called the Stress Relief Specialists, and my goal was to help people eliminate stress in their life, figuring that stress was the number one cause of aches and pains and disease. Many people that were coming in to complain about back problems or neck problems or whatever, they could feel great after having a massage or doing some exercise, but they'd go away and a week later they'd come back with the same problems. And I'd ask them, well, what did you do between last week and this week?
Yeah.
Well, nothing.
Yes.
Okay. So, the meaning of insanity is doing the same things
Yep.
over and over and expecting a different result.
Absolutely.
So, I really started opening my eyes and trying to figure, okay, well, what can I do to help this person not have to come back on a regular basis? And again, taking a step back, one of the things that kind of frustrated me about taking training through the RMT Association was that a big part of our training is how to build a successful clientele list. As you know, doctors, massage therapists, chiropractors, most of their success is having a roster of clients that are coming to see you on a regular basis. If you ask who is a successful therapist or specialist in your area, well, it's usually somebody who has a large roster of people coming to them, and they're so busy with their regular clients that you can't get in to see them because they're so good. And I always thought, well, that's kind of backwards. I didn't really understand that concept. And, I didn't want to be so good that I had so many people coming to see me on a regular basis with the same issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, for a while, I actually worked with a chiropractor. So, he was doing the bone cracking and I was doing a lot of the other muscle and energy balancing parts. And after 2 months of working with the guy, he actually asked me to leave the office. And I asked why. And he said, well, I'm healing people too fast. and I said, well, what does that mean? Isn't that exactly why we're here? And he said, no. He said, every time that you heal somebody and they don't have to come back, it's costing me money. When we lose a client, I now have to pay for advertising and marketing to replace that client.
Gosh.
And I said, but if he goes away feeling great and they don't need you anymore, isn't he going to tell all his friends and neighbors and they're going to want to come and see you too? No, it doesn't work that way, he says.
Short-sighted.
Yeah. So it really, I've been quite confused on my journey through health and wellness. And I don't really fit into the norm. So, my goal is to help people and educate people as rapidly as I can and completely as I can by guiding and supporting them to take control of their own life and helping them to understand what they need to do in all aspects of their life so that they can move forward and become the best version of themselves without having to deal with the negativity of life, but, supporting them in all the little things that come along.
Awesome. What have been some of the defining moments on your journey so far? Defining moments.
Well, I mean, when you say that, I think of a number of clients that I've worked with where, they've been going to specialists and doctors and other people around the world. Like, for example, I can think of a lady right off the top of my head, Mrs. Karen Locke. When I first met her, she'd been in a wheelchair for 11 years. She had a disease called Peripheral Neuropathy, which is a breakdown of the electrical system in the body. So it's kind of like arthritis, very bad version of arthritis where, they start to lose function in the hands and the legs and the body aches. And She, went from walking with a cane to walking with crutches, and then ended up in a wheelchair, and then ended up, living in a home where people had to take care of her. And of course, from there, she just goes into depression, and, your life just goes downhill. And I had met her through a friend of hers who asked me to go and work with her. So, we just slowly started working together, and I asked her what her goal was. And before I work with somebody, I always want to get very clear on what they really want.
Yes.
Because one of the biggest learning aspects of my business, and the hardest part, is to realize that we can't do for other people. We can guide and support and help and educate, but we can't do it for them.
Absolutely.
So I have to understand if somebody actually really wants to change their life, or if they just say they do.
Yes.
Because there's a big difference between the two. Well, this lady was very adamant that she wanted to change her life, and she had some very exciting goals that she wanted to achieve before she ended her life. So we worked towards those, and within 6 months, we had her out of the wheelchair, walking on her own.
Wow.
Within 8 months, we had her living in her own apartment on her own, fully self-sustained. And within a year and a half, I drove her to the airport, and she jumped on a plane and went around the world trip all by herself, which was the goal that she always wanted to do. And I mean, that was big. That was a huge changing point for me, where I could see the power of the body and what people are really able to achieve. And from there, it's just grown. I've had the great opportunity to work with people with cancer and AIDS and diabetes and high blood pressure and all kinds of different ailments and disease, broken backs and hip replacements and things, where specialists have told them that they got to deal with this the rest of their lives, or this is going to kill them. And they've proven that that's not actually fact. That with the right mindset, with the right support, with the right guidance, really, there are no limits. And I mean, the internet is full of testimonials like this. It's not like, I'm working with angels and blowing smoke up people's bums and doing things that are magic and hokey pokey witchcraft stuff. It's more common sense, realistic stuff where, it's working within people's limits and helping them to push beyond them.
Absolutely.
And, when people get that spark of light that anything is possible, the reality is pretty much anything is possible. And it's pretty exciting to work in that field,
Awesome. It would be remiss of me to not speak about, I know that in terms of the client roster that they worked with, in terms of some of the A-lister clients that you've had, I know that there would be dream clients for many people. And a lot of the work I do with clients is helping them to elevate their positioning so they can work with the top end of the market. So would you mind sharing some of your experiences of working with, I'll leave it to you to choose who, if you want to name drop some of the people you've worked with, but how you kind of entered in that market and ended up working with some of these high-end individuals in business and celebrities and actors and these kinds of people. How did you enter that market? How did you get started with those kind of clients?
Well, again, I guess it's just being very passionate about what I do, and word spreads. When you're passionate about what you do and you're focused more on results rather than money. Or building a clientele list, and you're doing everything you can to be the best version of yourself and helping others to be the best version of themselves. People talk. So, I mean, for example, one of the clients that I work with is Halle Berry.
Yes.
So, I did quite a bit of work with her. And, people always say, well, how did you end up working with her? Well, you can't really walk up to Halle Berry and hand her a business card and ask her if she wants a massage. I'm sure, that might be fun to do. Her security would probably be all over you very quickly.
Yes.
And, she'd probably think that you're a bit of a stalker. So with those type of people, you can't really approach them. But it is a matter of being around in the right places at the right time and providing the best services that you can. And treating them with respect. I mean, obviously, as you can imagine, when I'm working with people like that, I'm constantly being asked to give interviews and, give information about them and stuff. And, I don't treat them any differently than I treat anybody else. They're amazing people. They're powerful people. It's beyond words to hang around with them and party with them and work with them. But at the same time, they're human beings.
Yes.
They need to be treated with respect. And they also need to be treated like they are just a normal human being. one of the biggest issues that they come across is that they get treated like gods all the time.
Yep.
And that actually causes a lot of problems for them. Because if you can imagine, on one aspect, it's a very big ego boost to be treated like a god. But on the other aspect, how do you find your balance in your own personal life? How do you live a normal life in the real world when everywhere you go and everything you do, there are no limits? You can do anything with anybody, anywhere, anytime, with no limits. That's a bit of a mind game.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, I know it sounds fun, but I've been involved with that world for many years now, well over 20 years. And I'm telling you, it's stimulating, but it's not a way to live 24/7.
Wow.
And that's why, so many of these people have so many problems. And I'm not saying any of the clients that I've worked with have had these problems, but you see constantly. I mean, look at poor Robin Williams.
Yes, indeed.
And all these people who are killing themselves, and I mean Prince and Michael Jackson and all these guys that, they have everything. Like they have nothing held back from them, but yet they're miserable.
Absolutely.
They cannot live a normal life, and as human beings, we're not designed to live like that. And we need to find a balance. And that's exactly what I do with my clients is I'm the anchor in their life. I treat them like they're a normal human being. And sometimes you kind of got to be disrespectful for them in order to be respectful for them, and to bring them down to earth and to find their balance. And, I enjoy doing that and, bring them back down to earth and, as long as it's something that they want, and again, that's the same with, like I say, you have to find what people really want. For example, I get people saying, oh, well, I've been trying to quit smoking for years, or I've been trying to give up drinking, or I've been trying to give up drugs. And the first question I always ask them is, well, why? Why do you want to stop drugs or smoking? Well, because my doctor says that I should, or because it's not good for my health, or because my family's harassing me. Well, but do you want to quit? Is it something you're done with? Well, not really. Well,
Yeah.
so, well, what have you tried to do to quit? Well, I've done all the acupuncture and I've gone to all the hypnotherapy and I've gone into rehab and I've done this and I've done that, but I keep coming back to it. Well, sure, because you don't really want to.
Yes.
Do you actually enjoy doing it? Yeah, I love it. Well, okay, so why quit? There's no point of you lying to yourself, because with everything in life, it's just like, again, I thinking about people who are trying to lose weight. You see them, they go to the gym all the time and they claim they're eating all the right food. And when they go out to parties with their friends, they're the first to announce that they're on a diet and they can't eat this and they can't eat that and they're on this special diet. But yet midnight, they're got their face stuck in the fridge and they're eating chocolate cake and ice cream and sneaking into the stores. And, so do you really want to lose weight or not? And if you don't really want to achieve the goal that you're telling everybody you want to achieve, well, then you may as well save yourself a bunch of time and money and stress and just stop and be true to yourself and live the life that you're actually wanting to live until you get to the point where you want to do what you really want to do.
Yes, and then change becomes a must.
And then, well, doesn't become a must. It becomes natural.
Yes.
Because I'm sure you see people where change is a must. They're dying of cancer. They're severely obese, or they're wherever. I mean, that's a must.
That's a great distinction. Yes.
But they don't. They're still sneaking stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, how many movie stars or celebrities do we know that have dropped dead from drug overdose? I mean, they were at a point where it was a must. They had to change, but they didn't, and they chose not to, and they're no longer with us. So, they never got to that point in their life where it was what they really wanted, because there is more going on behind the scenes. And they just didn't surround themselves with the right people that would support, what they needed to do and what they wanted to do.
I think, Reg, this leads us to a very good transition now to step into the 10 keys to creating an extraordinary level of mental and physical performance. Talk me, where would you like to start there in terms of, I know you have these 10 keys that you work within. What's key number one?
Key number one for me is always, always, always environment. Always. What is your home? Where is your castle? Where is your place to rejuvenate, recharge, restore yourself? Again, talking about all the different things that we've just talked about, whether it's cancer, obesity, drug addiction, depression, bad relationships, whatever. The biggest thing that I've learned is when I get into a person's home, and that's why I've designed my business the way that I have, I can really start to understand why a person is dealing with the issues that they're dealing with. Because when you see people outside of their home, when they come to my health and wellness center, or they come to my clinics, they say all the right things, and they're going to the gym and they look quite healthy on the outside, or they're trying to do all the right things. But boy, when you go home with them, it's a completely different world. And the second you walk through the door, you go, okay, I get it. Now I understand why this person is living the way they are. Mm-hmm. So for me, environment is 100% key number one. And that's the first thing that I will look at and get involved in before I will even think about talking about nutrition or fitness or detoxing or anything else.
Wow. And what's the next step after you've looked at the environment?
After environment and getting very clear about that, of course, will be nutrition. What you're fueling your body with, And again, people so often say, oh, well, I'm clean and I'm healthy and I'm eating very well. But again, you open up their cupboards and you look at what they're actually eating, and they've got all this low fat stuff, low sugar stuff, low stuff, whatever. And the foods that they're cooking with, the products that they're putting on their skin, right down to the shampoos and the soaps and the deodorants and the laundry detergents and, everything in your home. I mean, people always say, oh, well, I'm just only using a little bit of this or only a little bit of that. Yeah, but you surround yourself with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Before you know it, you're living in such a toxic area. And, you're poisoning yourself every time you turn around. And that really has a massive effect on how your body functions and how your brain functions. So fueling yourself is definitely key number 2. Key number 3 is detoxing and cleansing. So along with all of this crap that we're surrounded with, and I tend to be, very aware of everything around me and everything I put on me and everything that I use. But at the same time, we have to be realistic that we live in a world where, you don't want to be stressed out about everything. Because stress will cause as much hassle as everything else, if not more. So you have to be realistic and realize that we can't 100% protect ourselves from all the toxins and poisons in this world that we live in this 21st century. So detoxing and cleansing has to be a regular part of our life. And again, it doesn't have to be a stressful thing. It just has to be a normal part of what you do. And that can be everything from intermittent fasting, whether it's a 24-hour water fast or different products that you use or whatever, just to allow your body to regularly cleanse and clean itself. After detoxing and cleansing is fitness. It's all about being active. And, when I talk about fitness, people are always wondering, well, what does that mean? I hate going to the gym. Well, the reality is most people don't like going to the gym. And I'd guess that probably around 70 to 80% of my clients never step foot in a gym. And I'm lucky enough to live in the south of Spain. And I love doing my training and my fitness outside.
Amazing.
And for fitness, I mean, that means that could be anything. I like to hike the mountains and, I can do pretty much a full body exercise using trees and rocks and, hiking a mountain and, and everything. And you don't have to go to a gym and sit there for an hour and do 12 of these. I find that exceptionally boring.
That's amazing. I had a guest on the show called Jonathan Mead. I don't know if you know Jonathan, but he has a brand called The Uncaged Man. And his whole principle is about getting outdoors first and foremost, but then it's all about how you can use your body in the outdoor environment and use nature as your gym to craft your health in your body. And it's he's done some amazing things already with his new brand. So I should connect you guys actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pushing 50 this year.
Amazing.
And I'm at just over 7% body fat.
Wow.
So and I tend to maintain that pretty much year round. I'm still feel like I'm 25 years old. I can outwork most of the people that I train with, and and it's not something that I'm not obsessed with it. It's just a way of life, because I keep myself active, and and I look at ways to constantly be active. And the key thing is to find things that you enjoy.
Yes.
I've written a couple of books about that, and it's finding the activities that you enjoy, and that can be anything from gardening to hiking to whatever. If you can imagine it, go out and do it. And change it up all the time. If you think about gardening, you don't go out and you don't just dig a hole. There's a lot more to gardening than digging a hole. So if you think of all the different things that you can do to keep your body active, moving, and being, doing things that get you out of breath a little bit and keep you moving, keep your body active, well, then you're going to be healthy, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to be sitting on a chair watching TV all the time.
I guess one of the challenges, interesting enough, part of my daily routine every single day, fitness is such an ingrained part of my routine, and to the point where if I miss it, I start to feel uncomfortable because I know that it's part that I've missed. And a lot of the guests that I've interviewed on the show, real top performers, we hold that in common, that taking care of our body is a foundation of success. But I know there's people out there who are very, very successful and lead very, very busy lives. How does someone who lives that kind of frantic lifestyle where they've got to balance family, they've got to balance business, they've got to balance everything in their life, how do they begin to incorporate fitness on a simple level? What's the simplest way someone can create an impact in that area?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, I've written a book about that. And that's one of the biggest things that I incorporate into my clients' life because, again, talking about the exceptionally high-end clients that I work with, everything from corporate executives to the movie stars to the singers to professional sports athletes, it's a matter of getting that right balance for you. As human beings, doesn't matter what your title is or what type of work you do, you still need to look long-term. And a lot of these 20-year-olds that I work with, these professional sports athletes that are just full of piss and vinegar, and they think that, they're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars and that's all there is, and their whole life is going to be sports. The reality is I show them and introduce them to older sports athletes that I've worked with that are now in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, who, are bankrupt or who have destroyed bodies or who have whatever, who didn't find that balance in their life. And I ask them, what do you really want? Yes, you need to be the best version of you now, but it's just like a corporate executive that's striving to earn as much money as he can now. Well, you don't want to, have $100 million in the bank and end up at retirement with no friends and no family and no health. What's the point? So you got $100 million in the bank, and now you're sitting in an old folks' home alone, miserable and sick. What's the point?
I mean, that's even if they make it to old age, if you're working at that level.
Exactly, if they haven't dropped dead before then. So, it's a matter of being the best version of yourself now and finding that balance. So what I do with my clients, and I insist on this, is to set themselves up as an individual. So I would say, Dan, let's make another version of you. So you're going to be Tom. And let's put Tom as your $1 million client, and you're going to schedule him into your schedule, your daily schedule. And because if I came to you and I'm Tom and I said, Dan, how busy are you? Are you pretty busy? And you say, yeah, man, I'm booked solid. I work all the time, and I've got my family, and I got this, and I got that. I haven't got 10 minutes in the day. And I go, well, I would really love to work with you, and I've saved up $1 million. And I'd be willing to give you that $1 million if you'd work with me to teach me what it is that you know. Would you have time to work with me? Well, all of a sudden, all these other stresses and problems of your life would probably quickly disappear.
Yes.
Because you would see that $1 million that I've got shaken in front of you. And so you really are the $1 million client. Because without you, if you got sick today, Dan, who's going to look after your business? Who's going to look after your family? Who's going to look after your health? Who's going to look after everything? Well, nobody. You might have some friends and people that would jump in, but pretty much your life would go into the toilet. So you have to put yourself first. You have to. And it doesn't mean you're scheduling 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a day. But the reality is you can tone your body in 3 to 5 minutes, multiple times a day. Well, how many times do you go up and go to the bathroom during the day? How long does that take you? From the time you get up to the time you go and you come back. 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Well, I can show you how to exercise in that amount of time where you're almost getting a full body exercise. And if you do that all day long, I guarantee you within 2 to 3 weeks, your complete body shape will change. Now,
That's
you
amazing.
incorporate that with making sure that you're eating the right foods and you're hydrating your body on a regular basis. And all these things, I don't care what type of work you're doing. If you're stuck behind a computer screen 10 hours a day and that's your job and you have to do it because you've got a deadline, I can still work your body out completely while you're sitting behind the desk. And all you need is a bottle of water sitting beside you. And, make sure that you get up and move like you're going to go to the bathroom a couple times a day.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to be able to incorporate those things into your day-to-day lifestyle. It's really interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. And just like a diet, it's not, I'm going to do this for a short time until I lose 10 pounds. This is now how I'm going to be living my life. And if you do simple, easy little steps that you can incorporate into your life that are attainable, and are achievable, and are enjoyable, you're going to do it, and you're going to do it forever, and you're going to see the benefits, and you're going to keep doing it.
You said you'd written a book on that topic, Reg. What was the name of that book?
Yeah, How to Exercise Without Exercising.
Amazing. It's funny, my personal trainer, working with one of the top guys out of London, he's got me in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm flexing my pectorials to exhaustion while I'm brushing my teeth. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can do lunges, you can do squats, you can do calf raises, you can, all kinds of things while you're brushing your teeth. It's endless.
Amazing. So we looked at environment, nutrition, detoxification, fitness. What's key number 5?
Key number 5 is mentoring and coaching. I know a lot of people don't really understand what that actually means, but the reality is asking and accepting help is one of the most important things that you can do in your life. Now, people seem to think that if you ask for help, it shows weakness. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the most successful people on the planet, they all ask for, and most importantly, accept the help from the people that know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
If you don't do that, then you are constantly recreating the wheel that somebody else already knows how to do. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and people say, I can't afford to invest in that. Well, here's a little fact. You are investing in it. You're investing in it whether you're paying somebody else or whether you're not paying somebody else. Because if you're not paying somebody else, you're spending money somehow, in some way, to learn how to do it yourself. And I can guarantee you it's going to take you longer and cost you way more than if you hired somebody that knew what the hell they're doing. So mentoring and coaching is very, very important to achieve whatever goals it is that you want to achieve. And not only are you going to learn how to do it properly, you're going to achieve it faster, but it's always different when you are being held accountable to somebody else. We think that we are very strong mentally, but the reality is we are never as strong on our own as we are when we're teamed up with somebody else. So surround yourself with the people who are going to hold you accountable to being the best version of yourself. If somebody is below you, they're going to want to keep you down. So don't surround yourself with people who are going to go, it's okay, just have this piece of chocolate cake today. It's all right. Just have the one. No. You want people around you that are going to go, what the hell are you doing? You don't need that. Don't have it. Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I mean, that concept itself, I mean, if I was to identify one common thread out of all of the guests I've interviewed for this show, mentoring is the number one thing that comes through. When I asked the question at the end of the show, what is the one thing you would do differently if you were starting all over again? All of them have said pretty much, I'd say 100% of the guests have said in some form or another, I would have got a mentor, and I would have got the best mentor I could afford at the earliest possible convenience, because it would have transformed their life, their business, so much faster than trying to go alone and make all those mistakes themselves, when they can learn through a mentor who's already learned how to achieve the result they're looking to achieve.
Absolutely. I mean, if you haven't got a mentor and a coach guiding you and directing you to be the best version of yourself, I mean, you're missing so much.
Absolutely. So what's key number 6?
Key number 6 is, we went through mentoring and coaching. I'm pulling a mind blank. You got my book there in front of you, don't you?
I have, yes. So we've covered environment, nutrition, detoxification, fitness, mentoring. We've got body therapy.
Therapy. Body therapy I find very important. I have put it lower down on the list, although I feel it's very important. Now, that's something that I do myself on a regular basis. I go for a massage on a weekly basis, at least once a week, if not more, depending on how I'm feeling or what I've done. The reality is mentally we are very strong. Spiritually, I know where the world is kind of opening up to that we're spiritual beings living in a mental body or a physical body. But we have to find that balance between spiritual, mental, and physical. And if your body is not functioning properly, it's going to affect everything else. Just imagine stubbing your toe. It doesn't matter how mentally strong you are. If your toe is hurting, it's going to affect everything. Whether you're in the gym, whether you're going to a meeting or whatever. So you have to look after your physical body. And that's where things like yoga come in, for meditation, to clear the mind and to make sure that the body is stretched and breathing and the organs are functioning properly. And just to make sure that you're relaxed, eliminating the stress and the disease out of your body to function the best version of yourself. I see so many people that, especially corporate executives are like this. They're far overweight. They've got no energy. You look at them and they're gray. Their eyes are dim. They figure that they can live off of 4 hours of sleep a night. And as long as they're dumping an Egg McMuffin and a cup of coffees down their throat every day and they're still breathing, they're great. Well, the reality is they're just fooling themselves, and they're heading for an early grave. Because, scientifically, medically, and realistically, it is proven over and over that when your body is not functioning, your mind just is not going to be as strong and as powerful as it could be. And that's the difference between somebody who is highly successful and goes in and gets that $100 million deal and somebody who doesn't. With these corporate executives, just like a professional sports athlete, the difference between somebody who is highly successful and somebody who's not quite there can be as little as 0.01%.
Wow.
So do you want to be exceptional or do you just want to be average? And again, it's getting very clear on who you want to be and how you want to live your life. Do you want to drop dead of a heart attack at 55 years old? Or do you want to live till you're 80 or 90 and be powerful and still climbing mountains and playing with your grandkids at that age? Every day is a lifestyle choice, right?
Lifestyle. So I think lifestyle is the next key. In fact, when you look at the list, so how important is lifestyle? What does that mean in the context of taking care of your health and achieving exceptional performance?
Well, again, I've kind of mentioned that throughout with environment and with choices. Lifestyle choice is everything, and that comes down to everything that you do. Every minute of every day, we have a choice. Do you love the people that you surround yourself with? Do you love your job? Do you love the home that you live in? I have a very strong saying that I have to live by for myself, and it's either a hell yes or it's a hell no.
Nice.
And if I don't feel that this is absolutely what I want to be doing, I don't do it. And that might seem harsh, but the reality is it's just helped me to be a completely different person. Happier, healthier, more successful. I enjoy life so much more. I feel more energized. If you're constantly doing things that are a hell no, it's a constant drain, And, right down to the home you live in. And again, this comes back to environment and why I have environment as key number one. How do you feel when you go home at night? Do you walk into your home, or even before that, when you're driving home, are you thinking, God, I can't wait to get home. I love my home. I can't wait to get there. Or are you thinking, oh, crap. I'm going to take the long way around. I'm going to do some sightseeing. I might stop and look at the stars for a while. When you pull into your driveway, do you sit and play on your phone? Do you take your time going into the home? And when you get in, it's like, oh, my God, just leave me alone. I want to plop in front of the TV and pretend like, I'm in my little cave. If you're living like that, that is killing you.
How does someone change? I know a number of people like that. I've got a friend of mine who, he told me that when he gets home, he stands outside of his front door for just a moment and just breathes in to kind of reset and set himself up to enter the home. How does someone make a radical change in that so that they can completely change the perspective or the way they see their home environment? What are some of the changes they can make to make a real shift in that area?
Well, I mean, of course, as individuals, and each of our own life is different, but I mean, radical change is needed, and I mean, personally, I lived in that situation, and just one day I just said, that's it, that's enough. I walked into the house, I packed a backpack, and I left all my shit, all my stuff, all my negativity, and I just packed up, my bare necessities, and I left. And I never looked back, and it was the best thing I ever did. But the reality is I knew years before that's what I needed to do.
Yes.
And the problem is most of us are living in a life where we know we have to make a change. We just hate our lives, but yet we keep doing it. And it's either, we have to do this because of the family, or we have to do this because of religion, or or society, or my parents, or my whatever. Bullshit. We don't. Because the reality is if we are living in a lifestyle that is draining us of the energy that makes us be the best version of ourselves, then all we're doing is we're robbing the people around us who care about us and who we can help. In my business, where I'm a health and wellness specialist, and I'm supposed to be helping other people to live exceptionally high levels of natural mental and physical performance, if I feel like crap, well, how the hell am I going to help anybody else to feel great? And I look at these personal trainers who are all overweight, or these doctors who look like shit. Well, how are you supposed to help other people achieve their goals when you look and act and feel like that? So we have to, for ourselves and our family, especially if we've got children. Do we want to raise our children to be like us? To live nasty, miserable, unhealthy lives? Or do we want to teach our children that, hey, in life we have to make really tough decisions that maybe people are going to judge us for and be negative as before, but hey, we are going to show our kids that when we are true to ourselves, we become a best version of ourselves. And when we're the best version of ourselves, we can actually help others more. And we become a more positive influence on multiple people in the world. Well, if you're a believer in God and you believe in religion, God has put us here to be the best version of ourselves possible. Are we mocking God, or, not doing the best version of ourselves by holding ourselves down, by keeping our light dimmed, by being a sick version of ourselves? Is that, if God was standing beside you, would he say, yeah, your partner doesn't want you to become successful because it might hurt their feelings, or all of your friends are all fat and overweight, and if you started getting healthy and feeling good, it would upset them, so you better stay fat and unhealthy too, so you don't hurt their feelings? Is that what God would say to you? I don't think so.
Yeah.
He'd say, holy crap, man, get away from those people.
Yes.
You can help those people by becoming the best version of yourself. You're going to help people more by being a better version of yourself than by staying down in the gutters with them.
And there's a couple of things there that I'd like to touch on. I remember a time, this is in my mid-20s, when I was a little bit of a wild man. I'm a lot different. I've moved on a lot since then. But there was I asked about your defining moment. I had a very specific defining moment in my life, and one of the decisions I made that I was no longer going to be drinking alcohol, and up until that point, I'd certainly been drinking my fair share of alcohol, so it was a big decision to make. And I remember one night I was out with my friends, and I hadn't been drinking anything at all, and my friend buys me a glass of champagne, and he said, "This is your champagne, Dan, I got you this for you." And I was like, "Buddy, I've already told you I'm quitting alcohol." And he was, the kind of person who's hassling. But I looked him in the eye and said, "Listen, I respect you as my friend. I appreciate your gift, your gesture. However, I'm politely declining, and I politely request that you support what I'm trying to do here." And in that moment, it's a connection eye to eye. He got it, and he stopped at that point. He was always the party starter. He's a great guy, great friend, love him to bits. But he was always the party starter, and in that moment, our relationship changed in a very empowering way. And you talk about becoming a role model. At that point, I started entering the gym, eating healthily. I gave up alcohol, really radically shifted my life. And as a result, guess what? He started making some changes in his life as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the next point is, more recently, I had a very good conversation with I have an accountability partner who I speak with every single morning. And last week, he asked me, if there was a CCTV camera in your house, would your future self be proud of everything they saw you doing?
Exactly. Yes, day? I love that.
And every single day, that's the first thing I think about. I'm evaluating exactly how I use every moment of my time now. I think, how am I showing up? How am I showing up when I'm speaking to my partner? How am I showing up when I'm buying something at the shop? Am I being full me? Am I being a role model? Am I something I would respect? And I think that's so powerful. But the question I have for you, Reg, linked to both those points is, what do you think it is? What's the primary reason that prevents someone from making that shift? They've got that deep dissatisfaction, but what is it that stops them from making a change?
Fear. Yeah. Fear of not fitting in, fear of not being accepted, fear of their friends, fear of their family, fear of religion, fear of society, fear of standing out. Yeah.
And in your experience, how does someone then overcome that fear? They've got a desire.
It has to be a life choice.
Yes.
And again, that's one of the hardest things that I've had to come to a realization in my life. I've worked with people who are absolutely in the slums, like right at the point of death, failure, they've lost everything, and they turn that whole thing around and become hugely successful, more successful than they ever were. And at the same time, I've worked with people who have everything, who are hugely successful and have lost everything and actually ended up dead just because they haven't made that mental shift. So acceptance of what people choose. The hardest part of my business is to realize I can't do for other people. I can guide, I can support, I can love, I can encourage, I can kick people in the ass, but I cannot do it for them. And people have to get to that point where they make a choice and they really have to decide, what do I really want? What's more important to me? To be the best version of myself, or to stay here miserable, sick, failure, depressed, and stay where I am so that I don't make other people uncomfortable? And that's an individual choice that each of us have to make. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, not everybody wants to be successful. Not everybody wants to achieve the goals that they claim they want to achieve. Some people just want to live the lifestyle that they're living.
Absolutely. I had a good conversation with Rob Moore this morning for a podcast, and we talked about, he's a guy in the property field, and as you know, and he talked about the difference between a landlord and a tenant. And he said the key thing that separates them is the landlord wants to be a landlord and the tenant wants to be a tenant, but there's also tenants who want to be landlords, but it's the fear that holds them back, and it's a decision that you have to make that change and to be willing to make sacrifices to make that happen.
Absolutely.
So the last key, Reg, of the 10 is maintenance. What does that mean?
Yeah, maintenance, that comes back to support, and also turning your mind from realizing that, hey, I'm going to go on a diet, or hey, I'm going to go to the gym until I achieve this goal, to I am changing my lifestyle. I haven't enjoyed being where I was, and now I'm more focused on where I want to be and how I want to maintain it. So it's just like looking at retirement. You don't work for 5 years and save all your money, when you're 20 or 30 years old, and go, okay, now I've saved my $5,000 and I'm ready for retirement. Now I'm going to go out and carry on doing what I've always done. No, you keep working and you keep saving money until retirement, until you've got enough to retire on. That's going to maintain you for the rest of your life. And your body is exactly the same. You can't wait until retirement till you decide, oh, now I'm going to take time for myself. Now I'm going to lose weight. Now I'm going to get fit. Now I'm going to be healthy. Now I'm going to get my mind clear and organized. No, you have to start doing that now, long before the time that you need it, so that when that time comes, you're there. And at 60, 70, 80 years old, you're enjoying the life that you want to live. And that, you look around, and I've got people around me right now. I've got friends in their 70s, 80s, and 90s that, could outwork me. They're climbing mountains, they're traveling the world, they're living their life and having a blast. I've got other people around me who are in their 60s and 70s, who are shuffling around and they can't even bend over and tie up their own shoes, and they're pissing their pants, and they may as well be sitting in an old folks home. Well, what's the difference between the two? Laziness, not planning for the future, not caring, thinking that they're all powerful and it's not going to happen to them. Well, we all have choices to live. And maintenance is about realizing that we have to keep doing what it is that we need to do in order to achieve what we want. It's not a short-term thing. It's a lifestyle, and that's what maintenance is all about. And that comes back to, again, surrounding yourself with the people who are living that same type of lifestyle, and just being very clear in your mind of what you as an individual really want. Not lying to yourself and saying, well, this is what I should do, but actually being honest and clear and doing it. Getting up every day and doing the little things, those tiny steps that help you to achieve the big goals that you want. And that's maintenance.
I think it's fascinating how you made the parallel to pensions and planning for the future in terms of financial planning. And there's been a lot in the press, particularly in the UK, around the pensions gap, they call it, in terms of people's financial deficits they're likely to face. But the reality is that I think the health crisis is so much larger that
absolutely,
even to the point where people are worried about not having enough money when they retire. It's like, well, you'll be the way people are going to be lucky to reach retirement age, the way some people live their lives. So I think in terms of priorities, we talked about a little touch on values, but I think if you make health and fitness your foundation, then everything else will succeed from there. And I evaluate my priorities every single year. And last year, interestingly enough, I decided that I was going to, health and fitness was always my number one priority when I made the commitment to change my life. Mm-hmm. But last year I put business at number one. And what was really interesting is that my health deteriorated. Yeah. And my business not failed, but when it deteriorated with it. So the fact that I'd taken the attention of my body had a knock-on effect on almost every area of my life. So it just shows how important it is to set that as a base. Yeah. So before we hit into the final round, I just want to briefly touch on a subject. And again, using myself as a personal example, I strive to live by the highest standards when it comes to nutrition, fitness, mindfulness, and lifestyle, and spending time away from from the city and getting into nature. But there's been a couple of times in my life where stress, through the pressures I put upon myself, have literally made me ill. Despite all that stuff, I thought I'd have this bulletproof health, but the stress was so powerful that it made me ill in those moments. How does someone tackle stress? How does someone prevent stress? What are your top tips for overcoming like a stressful lifestyle?
Yeah, again, that comes back to my $1 million client.
Interesting.
You have to, no matter what, put yourself first. I don't give a crap what job you do, how much stress you have, how many, goals that you've got, what pressures you have on your life. You have 5 minutes a number of times a day. You have as many hours in the day as everybody else. Set the alarm in your phone, set the clock, do whatever you have to do. But you make sure that when you wake up in the morning, you've got a routine. Get up early enough to, do a bit of exercise, to go for a walk, to, whatever, to make sure that you're fueling your body properly, you're drinking your water, you're doing your mantras, you're doing whatever you need to clear your mind. At the end of the day, again, clear your mind. Get rid of your cell phones, get rid of your computers, turn off the lights, have a bit of candlelight around you, maybe some music or play a guitar or whatever you enjoy doing. But clear your mind of all the shit and just give yourself a chance to wind down. Focus on the things that are important to you. Spend time with your kids, spend time with your loved ones, have some fun, go for a walk, whatever. You have to put time throughout the day. Especially for computer workers and people who are office workers, every half an hour I say, get up and do something. I do little fun games, like every time the phone rings, stand up, or about just tensing your body up, working different muscles in your body. You can tone your whole body without actually doing anything. Just as I'm talking, I'm working out my legs right now.
Nice.
Just by tensing up the muscles. So you can do things like that. Do a little twist, do some core exercises, things like that, so that your body is being active. You're getting the blood flow, the oxygen flow through your body. you have to clear your mind once in a while of things. Because, again, I'm a big believer in there's too much health. And when I say that, I think about these people who spend hours and hours in the gym. They stress constantly about the foods that they're eating. How many calories are they eating? Am I eating organic? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Well, I'm telling you, these people are going to end up sicker faster than somebody who's out eating chocolate cake and smoking cigars all night long. Because the stress is going to kill them faster than anything else. So you have to get rid of the stress, and you have to find that time and make the time for yourself to do things that you enjoy doing. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours. It's amazing what 5 minutes will do. Have you ever just taken your girlfriend or your partner and just gone for one night somewhere, gone and stayed in a hotel somewhere, take off on a Friday night or a Saturday night?
Yeah, we have. We were just talking about that last week.
Yeah. So, you do that and just one night away, you come back and you feel completely recharged. You think, holy crap, I feel like I've gone for the whole weekend. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time to recharge your body. And if you do tiny little things all day long, you are going to make a massive change in your body. And that's what I talk about, making little tiny things part of your lifestyle. It's the small things. It's not, I'm going to go spend 2 hours in the gym. It's, I'm going to do 5 minutes. I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk. I'm going to go walk up and down the stairs in my office building just for 5 minutes. And when you do stuff like that all day long, it just gives you that opportunity to allow your body and your mind to eliminate that stress.
Awesome. So we're just going to move now into the quickfire final round. We've got 3 quickfire questions for you, Reg. I'm excited about the next section to hear what you've got to offer. So the first question is, if you had to start from scratch all over again, knowing everything you know right now, it could be health, it could be business, what would be the first thing you would do?
Good question. Health. Yeah, that comes back to, being the best version of myself first. I can't be stressed out and overweight and not feeling very good about myself and then try to teach other people how to do it. So yeah, I'd take care of myself first. Cool. I'd get feeling really good, really passionate about myself and very clear on what it is that I want to do. As far as I'm concerned, passion is everything.
Awesome.
If you're passionate about what you do, you can achieve anything.
I love that. And the next question is, what's the most game-changing piece of advice that you've ever personally received and then implemented?
That would almost be the same as question number 1, passion. I've taken a lot of courses. I've got a lot of education. I've done a lot of different things. I've traveled the world. I've lived all over the place. And it comes back to passion. The number one thing that when I was a kid, especially with my dad being so sick, I hung around with a lot of old people. And the number one thing that really stuck to me was all these old people going, I wish I would have done this when I was young. I wish I would have done that. If I would have known, I should have left him. I should have got a divorce. I should have done this. I should have done that. And so I grew up going, crap, man, I'm not going to grow old doing that. So I've kind of lived my life going, you know what? I love people and I love my family and I love everybody, but I'm not going to live my life for them. I have to be true to myself. And if it doesn't feel right for me, I'm out of here. And that's kind of where I came up with the hell yes or hell no. If it's not a hell yes for me, I'm out of there.
I love it. And the final question is, what does it mean to be unstoppable to you?
Just to be very clear, people keep telling me I'm unstoppable because I've had this goal of building my health and wellness center where I'm going to bring traditional medicine and alternative medicine together under one roof. I see the magic in the 21st century science, and I see the magic in alternative health of, what we've known as human beings for thousands and thousands of years. And I'm frustrated with why there's that battle between the two and why, people mock and laugh at traditional medicine that's been proven to work, where they think it's okay to shove man-made drugs in you that, have labels full of stuff that do far more damage than good. So my goal and my passion is to bring the two together. And my goal is to bring a health and wellness center and bring a bunch of specialists together that can help educate people in that education.
Awesome. And then the final thing, Reg, is for the listeners today, how are they best find out about your work and how can they contact you?
They can Google me. I'm all over the internet. They can go to my website, which is reglenney.com. And I'm building my own health. It's called the Ultimate Health University. and that's ultimatehealthuniversity.com. And I've got 15 online courses, which we're going to be releasing over the next little while. I've got 7 books that I've written over the last little while, and they're being released as well. And I also still, my passion is working one-on-one with people. So they can, get a hold of me and discuss any of their needs. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, Reg, it's been a fascinating show. Just listening to you speak throughout this session just makes me want to come and spend time with you, because I can just visualize the kind of power and true essence of life you can experience from working with you. So a really fascinating episode. I'd like to thank you for your time and your insight and being so open and sharing not only your personal journey, but some of your client stories and all the key principles for becoming great, from taking yourself from great to extraordinary. It's a really fascinating subject, and I've really enjoyed discussing it with you today. So I'd like to thank you personally for being on the show, and I'm really excited to share this with the listeners.
Excellent. Well, I really enjoyed it myself. Thanks for your time, Dan.
How fantastic was today's show? I feel rejuvenated just listening to Reg. Such an incredibly wise and humble gentleman who's done some amazing things with some amazing people. So it's absolutely fantastic to hear his secrets to lasting health and pure vitality. On Monday's show next week, I'll be sharing my own key takeaways from my time with Reg today. And I'd also love to hear what you learned. So please do visit the blog, check out the show notes, and come and leave a comment at www.danjgregory.com/33. In addition, if you're not already part of the Unstoppable Mastermind on Facebook, come and join the conversation at unstoppablepodcast.com/tribe, or search for Unstoppable Mastermind directly on Facebook. Ladies and gents, I have some big news. We finally have our first female guest coming up on the Unstoppable podcast. It's long overdue, and I'm delighted to announce that our first female guest is an absolute rock star. Our first female guest who will be appearing on the show next Thursday is Marcy Locke. Marcy Locke is known as the ultimate life catalyst, and she works with global influencers, game-changing leaders, and high-performing entrepreneurs to help them to live an epic life in every area. Marcy has appeared on TV around the world, she's spoken on global stages, and she's touched and transformed thousands of lives through her Average to Awesomeness movement, her mind-body breakthrough programs, and her hands-on experiential events and retreats, such as the Goddess Revolution Experience, the Badass Breakthrough Catalyst Adventure Series, amongst many others. In next week's episode, we're going to take an intense and deep dive into how to live a fucking fantastical life, in her words, in every area of your being. Marcy will show you how to overcome the internal bullshit that's stopping you from having it all. You will not want to miss next week's show, so be sure to subscribe on iTunes to make sure you don't miss it. And by the way, if you haven't checked out the free 10-part series on how to achieve your most adventurous goals, do jump back to episode 1 to start your journey today. Until next time, it's time to unleash your greatness, build your empire, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.